This is CBC Windsor News. I'm Chris Ensign, Cats Away today. Thanks for joining us. Our top stories. People in Ontario are set to get a $200 rebate check from the provincial government. Is it a stimulus or a stunt? It's a familiar sight on Lake Erie, these toxic blooms created by pollution. We look at the people tracking the problem who say it could be getting worse. And commuters have something to celebrate. The roundabout at County Road 42 is open, sort of. But we begin with Windsor Police investigating a shooting in the East End from early this morning. Now, this is just before 7 a.m. in the 1500 block of Monticello Avenue. No injuries reported. Police saying shots were fired at a home after a white cube van seen leaving the area. And shortly after that, police responded to reports of that white van on fire, saying it was intentionally set. Investigators are asking people in the area to check their video surveillance or dash cams for footage and call it in. Toxic blue-green algae is plaguing Canada's lakes. It's not just a nuisance, it's a dangerous threat, and climate change is likely to make it even worse. CBC's Jayla Bernstein joined scientists out in the field earlier this summer to see an innovative solution that's being tested here on Lake Erie.
So we bring the raw water in.
At this water treatment plant, Rodney Bouchard takes us to his first line of defense, protecting the water they send to 4 municipalities and to the largest concentration of greenhouses in North America. The threat lurking nearby in Lake Erie.
It's been identified as probably the best technology for removing algae.
Blue-green algae blooms specifically can clog water filters, release dangerous toxins, and in this region, they pose a risk to a multi-billion-dollar agri-food industry. Phosphorus-rich and nitrogen-rich runoff is the main culprit, and climate change is likely to make things worse. Union Water Supply is preparing for just that.
Just 1 year, so this is pretty new.
This is new.
But this state-of-the-art clarifying dome is one weapon in the arsenal. CBC got an exclusive look at another, and it's right on Lake Erie. A network of buoys monitoring the water quality 24/7.
The sensors are strategically placed so that we can capture any potential water quality issues that are coming in from all different areas.
These buoys will help predict when a toxic bloom is likely.
These sensors measure water conditions every 10 to 30 minutes. They collect the information, they send it to that other buoy, and it goes real time so people can look at it right now.
What we're looking to do is...
Expected to be up and running by the end of the year, the early warning system will feed data live to the water plant's control room, providing up to 12 hours advance notice, a major improvement on what is now about 30 minutes lead time.
It's caught us by surprise in the past. Having this early warning network would help us manage that, give us a little bit of lead time to get ready for it, and then we can manage it better.
The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says the blooms on Lake Erie have been lasting longer. 1 year sparked a crisis in Ohio when toxins made the tap water undrinkable for 500,000 people. This year, the bloom took off in June, the earliest start ever recorded. But the algae levels on the Canadian side have been manageable so far.
We take it for granted that we have all this water.
He says the Great Lakes may be the largest fresh surface water system on the planet, but they're not invulnerable. A reminder that even seemingly infinite resources must be cared for. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, on Lake Erie.
Colette Kennedy joins us live for a look at the forecast. Now, Colette, I don't want to break the magic of TV. We filmed that a little earlier, so people in T-shirts on Lake Erie, not quite today, but it was pretty nice out there, pal.
Yes, pretty nice. I mean, I don't know if, you packed away your flip-flops or things like that. We are getting back into that kind of territory with the warm-up that's coming our way. So a little bit of a preview, in fact, is some of the heat that can be found through the central plains and into the northern plains, like Omaha at 22, Scottsbluff at 25. And in fact, this kind of just pushed into parts of southern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario, where some of the readings were right there in the low 20s, up to about 21. I saw around Kenora, 17 currently. Fort Francis, by the way, at 21 degrees there. So we're still mid-teens, closer to seasonal, slightly above today. So we saw a bit of a warm-up. but it's what's to come next that is really going to be unusual for this time of year. Not out of the question, obviously, because it's going to be happening, but definitely above seasonal. Current readings, Goderich at 13, Windsor 15, Chatham-Kent at 14, and same thing for you there into Sarnia. Looking at the winds, yes, they are certainly light. And in general, we've got that southwesterly flow, a little different for Windsor and for Kitchener just at the moment. But looking at the forecast of where these winds will be going, that direction is really important. So it is that southerly to southwesterly flow as we move forward in time that's going to be helping to push those temperatures up. And the other thing going on here really is that we're seeing this very dominant ridge of high pressure that's just taking over. So central parts of the continent, all the way to the east, all the activity is back here towards the west along this frontal boundary. And there's very little to be found if you travel towards the Great Lakes where we're concentrated. Some stronger winds. You can see the tighter isobars there in northwestern Ontario, but focusing in on this high pressure for the lower Great Lakes, it just brings us clear skies at night. Not as cool, though, tonight as it was last night. Sunshine during the day. This next frontal boundary is going to try to push that ridge away, and it's not going to have much luck. So even into the weekend, and in fact, I think the beginning of next week, we're going to hold with some nice conditions. The temperature then tonight, Windsor 3 degrees for the low. Tomorrow, this is where we're going to a high of 18 degrees. And it's not just that the sky conditions are going to hold into the weekend. The temperature is actually going to be climbing further. So Saturday, 20 degrees. That's after a low of 5. So slightly milder with these overnight temperatures too. Sunday up to 22 degrees, Monday 23. We'll probably have to start bringing a few clouds in here because the next significant system, at this time anyway, looks like that ridge won't break down till we get to about Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So a really nice run ahead. Chris.
Wow. And speaking about that run, I know a lot of folks have Sunday circled on their calendar, the Detroit Free Press Marathon, and to be doing that in that type of weather.
I mean, you wouldn't expect it, right? It might be too warm for some. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
No, I don't think people are going to be complaining there.
No.
Thanks, Colette. Something else people aren't going to be complaining about, that roundabout down on County Road 42 at Banwell Road in Tecumseh. It is partially reopened. It's going to help deal with all that traffic caused by these major projects coming down the pipeline. Dale Molnar has more.
There we go. Thank you.
County officials and representatives from Tecumseh came together to officially open the roundabout at the intersection of County Road 42 and Banwell Road, also known as County Road 43. Banwell has been diverted away from its current intersection with County Road 42 to connect with the new roundabout. It's a new way to connect Banwell Road North with Banwell Road South. It's a $22 million project, $6 million paid by Tecumseh and the rest by the county.
The project we're celebrating today is a significant milestone and part of a $100 million multi-year, multi-phase project to enhance the County Road 42 corridor from Lakeshore to the City of Windsor.
This construction of the roundabout, the realignment of County Road 43 and the enhancements on County Road 42 will facilitate the flow of traffic in a vital corridor.
The roundabout has been in the works for 18 years and it will be needed more than ever when the Nexstar battery plant opens next year and when the hospital opens down the road in about 6 years.
When we look just to the east of here, Banwell Road, we're looking at adding over 4,400 new homes in that area. So that equates to about 8,800 new residents into the region. We got just north of our position here is the EV plant, where people are going to come from the four corners of the county to come into work.
The current connection between Banwell and 42 will eventually be disconnected and a cul-de-sac will be built on Banwell. The roundabout area will eventually include a walking trail, new lighting, and sidewalks. The next projects will be a new roundabout at County Road 42 and Manning, as well as a new right turn lane at Manning and County Road 22. For now, only the east-west portion of the roundabout along County Road 42 is open. The other part that will service Banwell Road, County Road 43, should open sometime before Christmas. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Tecumseh.
CBC News has confirmed that the Ford government plans to send out checks to everyone in Ontario, at least $200 per person. That's adults and children. The move comes as rumors of an early election continue to swirl. For that story, we turn to Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop.
CBC News confirms the Doug Ford government will announce it's sending checks to every Ontarian, all 16 million people, set to receive at least $200, possibly more. It adds up to $3.2 billion in taxpayer money. According to a government source, it'll be a key plank in Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy's upcoming fall economic statement, a story first reported by the Toronto Star. The Premier hinted at it earlier today as he made a speech focused on the economy and his vision.
I better stop there with all our priorities this session. Otherwise, I'm risk stealing Peter Bethlenfalvy's thunder if I get into the fall economic statement. But I'm sure the Toronto Star knows it already, so.
Ford spoke in front of more than 1,000 people. His finance minister also in the crowd. Later, he said wait for his fall economic statement, but didn't deny the checks are coming.
What we've had a track record of doing is helping all Ontarians, and so we're going to continue to look at ways to help all Ontarians.
All three opposition party leaders panned it as an attempt to buy votes.
This is just another gimmick. What we've been seeing is just gimmicks and distractions from the real issues facing Ontarians.
I think it's just highly fiscally irresponsible for the government to spend $3.2 billion to send $200 checks that include being sent to millionaires and billionaires.
If he is looking to make life easier for Ontarians, he should be investing in making sure that we are building the homes that people can actually afford, right? That would go a lot further.
It's not unheard of for an Ontario government to send out checks. Almost 25 years ago, it happened under the Mike Harris government, calling them dividend checks, as the government was in a surplus. In Alberta, under then Premier Ralph Klein, the $400 a person became known as Ralph Bucks. The reaction here today?
Go for it. We're not spending our money on anything better, so.
But if it could be better spent collectively at dealing with some of the problems we're dealing with in terms of the homelessness.
There's a very long list of things I think that money should go towards instead of giving me $200, but I mean, again, if it would happen, I wouldn't mind.
This is happening as it's widely expected Ford will call an early election, likely next spring, with those rebate checks set to go out before that, sometime in the new year. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Those comments from the NDP leader speaking in Windsor today. Earlier this summer, she brought her caucus to the city for a retreat to discuss their plans this year. And this area has been a place that the NDP could rely on for votes in previous years. I asked if that's what she sees for the future.
I'm always going to be in Windsor because Windsor is a priority for New Democrats. I mean, this is where our roots are among working people, right? And I think with the loss of a few seats last time, I'll be honest, I think we've seen a slide in the kind of quality of representation that folks are getting here. I hear it all the time when I'm in the region. We need to elect strong New Democrats like Lisa Gretzky to continue to stand up for people here. And so I see great opportunity here as well. And I guess that's the other reason I'm here is, like we can do great things in Windsor.
Here's something you might want to keep an eye out for. Sunflower pins. A Via Rail worker spotted one on a traveler leaving Windsor, and it saved what can sometimes be an awkward conversation. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
For me, Toad and Yoshi. Yoshi for sure.
It was a moment like this, talking about Super Mario characters that made Alim Nafu immediately feel comfortable. A few months ago, the 36-year-old was on a Via Rail train back home to Mississauga. He had just spent a few days in Windsor. On board, he met service manager Andre Bergeron-Leckman.
For me, it's just a regular Tuesday, giving my time and attention to our customers as part of what I do every day. He asked me how I was. He said if there's anything I need, come and speak with him.
It might seem simple, but for Nafu, it was a relief.
I said that I was on the autism spectrum.
Bergeron-Leckman and his staff also helped Nafu figure out how to put away his luggage.
The reason why I think it's very important just to be kind and to make people feel accommodated and welcome is it just makes it easier as well as better for us when it comes to situations that we may not know how to handle.
While Nathu is comfortable saying he has autism, he knows that not everyone with a condition or disability can easily talk about it. It's why he wears this sunflower pin, which is becoming a universal symbol for people with hidden disabilities. The initiative began in the UK about 8 years ago. It's meant to symbolize that the person has a condition that isn't visible, like asthma, diabetes, or hearing loss, so they might need extra help from others. Nathu was wearing his pin the day he met Bergeron Lechman.
I was not aware of that, so I learned something new through Aleem, and I appreciate that.
There's at least 15 airports in Canada that have adopted the program, and more transit services are also joining the push. In 2023, Metrolinx, which runs Go Transit and the Up Express to Pearson Airport in Toronto, implemented the initiative. Via Rail says it will be launching the program in 2026.
For them to be aware of people with hidden disabilities, it makes it more easier for them to communicate and talk to us at the same time. And it's not just bus drivers, it's even citizens and even just regular members of the public too.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
As we take a live look outside at the beauty of fall out here in Windsor, those leaves are turning, the colors are popping. We'll have more after the break.
air.
Israel says it has killed the leader of Hamas. It says Yahya Sinwar was in a group of 3 who died in southern Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepared an address to the country. Netanyahu saying that Israel had settled a score. Sinwar is believed to have orchestrated Hamas's deadly raids last October 7th. He became the overall leader this July. The news prompted celebrations in Israel. India shot back at Canada today after Prime Minister Trudeau accused Indian agents of being behind crimes here, including extortion, home invasions, and murders. CBC's Salima Shivji has the latest.
We will naturally reject
more denials from India's Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Investigations have revealed
mere days after another round of severe allegations from Canada that Indian agents were engaged in criminal activity against Canadians.
The current crisis in the relationship has been precipitated by Trudeau government's baseless allegations.
This is all Justin Trudeau's fault, India maintains, arguing Canada's Prime Minister is targeting India's diplomats without evidence.
There's a clear pattern to smear India.
Square that with this testimony under oath.
The Indian government made a horrific mistake in thinking that they could interfere.
2 different versions in a very bitter public dispute. As diplomats in both countries pack up, forced to leave their posts, after both India and Canada kicked out the other country's top-level diplomats.
Who's the real terrorist?
At the heart of India's argument that Canada doesn't stop this. Rallies and violent threats, they say, from pro-Khalistan activists in Canada. Indian officials convinced the diplomatic fight is all because Trudeau wants votes from the Sikh community. That view has widespread support in India.
The minor political gains should not dictate your foreign policy with an important partner.
At this market in Delhi, there's pride that India is standing up to a Western country.
I'm very happy that India's got a spine now.
And a lot of disdain for Trudeau.
So he's doing this to give a macho look so that he can win the election.
If Trudeau goes away, then I think it will be solved very easily.
But that hope on the streets that this tension will fade soon is completely absent from the statements we're hearing from Indian officials. The gulf between Canada and India is now wider than ever. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Delhi.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to Bridget, the penguin they refer to as the spicy old lady. That's next. Fans of pop music are mourning Liam Payne. As a teenager, he was a member of the British boy band One Direction. Last night, at age 31, he fell to his death from a hotel balcony in Argentina. The CBC's Magda Gabriselassie reports.
Shedding tears and seeking comfort, Liam Payne's fans stand vigil outside the hotel in Argentina, where the former One Direction singer died Wednesday after falling from a balcony.
A shock. I'm in shock still.
That feeling reverberating around the world. Payne's family told the Associated Press they're heartbroken. In a statement, his former One Direction bandmates said they're completely devastated. They said, "For now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother, who we loved dearly. The memories we shared with him will be treasured forever." In Japan, Payne's friend, singer Rita Ora, paid tribute in this way during a concert. And in Payne's home country, a message of condolence rang through UK's Parliament.
Can I also send condolences to the friends and family of Liam Payne? One Direction was loved by millions across the world, and this was a tragic end for someone so young.
Forensic teams are combing through the site of the tragedy as new details like this 911 call are released. A staff member says a guest overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol was breaking things in their room, highlighting that the room has a balcony. This picture, released by local police, shows a broken TV in Payne's hotel room. Authorities also released autopsy details confirming Payne died from the fall.
I know that in the morning now.
Payne, who was only 31, spent half his life in the spotlight. As a member of One Direction, one of the biggest boy bands, he performed on stages around the world.
I sort of view them as the internet's first boy band.
This author has written about the group's impact.
Pop stars never felt more accessible because of the ways in which they could communicate, and within that sense of now how we now interact on social media.
All my life.
But after the band broke up, Payne had some tumultuous times. He spoke out about his mental health and addiction struggles. Looking back, this culture critic thinks there's a conversation that needs to be had.
The conversation I would like to have is actually about the pressures of fame, what it means to become famous at a really young age, how that might impact people.
Something that you won't forget.
As the investigation into what led up to Payne's death continues, what is clear is the lasting impression he made on his fans. Magda Gabriselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
We end tonight by introducing you to a penguin that is old, cold, and getting a little bit of help.
Bridget, she is a 37-year-old Gentoo. She is one of 3 of 37 that we have, so they're amongst the oldest in the country.
Bridget, who they describe as Spicy Old Lady, is now thriving after her care team crafted a custom wetsuit for her. Take a peek there. Since she's an older penguin, they started to notice that Bridget was just having some problems moving around. So you want to put her age into perspective here. Penguins typically live around 15 years in the wild. Her handlers say Bridget, now able to swim, to play, back in the snow again, just like those younger penguins. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for the stories that matter most to you. Throw the alerts on that thing and you'll get notified as we post the things that you should know about. We're also on YouTube. Search us CBC Windsor. You can find our stories there as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.